Welcome back to the channel, everyone. It's been a while between drinks here, but I'm finally back. I was moving house and I had a few other things on, so it's been, I think, over a month since my last video. But hopefully I'll be able to get the last 3 battle reports for this tournament out in the pretty near future, and we can start moving on and producing some more videos as well. Basically, today is the 3rd round of the event that I was already covering in my previous 2 videos. To get you up to speed, I think the first round I got an 11-9 win over some Infernal Dwarves, and in the second round I think I went down 16-4, and that was to Warriors. Those are my 2 previous videos on the channel if you want to check them out. The list for the matchup for round 3 and the list for the matchup are up here. So I'll just run through my Ogre list again because it's obviously been a while. Basically I've got 2 blocks in the Bruisers and the Mercenary Veterans as my main combat units. I've got a small Bruiser Data support, a unit of 8 Saber-Tooth Tigers as support, another small unit of Merc Vets, Kinida just to sort of pressure the back lines, Scrappling Trappers and Saber-Tooth Tigers as sort of chaff and annoyance stuff. 3 units of 3 Bombardiers with Musos for some shooting support, and then a Frost Mammoth. I just reckon it's an excellent support monster and it works pretty well with the Merc Vets with Iron Fists. My general is a Wizard Adept of Pyro, who's got extra spells basically because of his items, so he's a 5-spell Adept. So he's pretty handy. And I've got my Mammoth Hunter who's sitting on an Oryx because I had the character points, and he's looks like a pretty good value pick to me if you've got the points left in characters, because it's only 140 more points than an Oryx regularly, and while you can get challenged out, the Mammoth Hunter's a pretty good upgrade, particularly with the items and upgrades that you can give him to make him even better. The Infernal Dwarf list that I'm playing was, I think, the list that I wanted to face the least out of all the opponent's lists, but ended up getting up against him again, which was a little bit unfortunate. Looking at it before the pairings, I basically sort of thought that in general I probably prefer Jake's list from my first matchup in terms of I think it's stronger and more well-rounded, but this one specifically is worse for me to play because the Tarut Commissioner BSB has the multi-wound weapon, and the Walking Earthquake Kadim Titan I thought I'd have a bit of trouble dealing with. Something I sort of realised as the tournament progressed was a lot of the time that Mammoth Hunter on an Orc is my only answer to several threats in the opponent army. So in this case I was sort of thinking, man, I'd really like him to fight that BSB. That's probably my best chance to deal with him and his unit. But I was also thinking, man, I'd really like him to fight that Kadim Titan because he's probably my best answer to that as well. So, starting to see why people take a whole bunch of Hunters and double Oryx in a lot of their lists, because sometimes I find the rest of my list a little bit lacking. But basically what Masima has brought is 2 Kadim Titans. One that's the combat one, and one's that's the shooting one with a rocket battery. He's got a Kadim Titan, he's got a Titan Mortar, he's got a block of Taruk Anointed, which he's got a Commissioner BSB to stand in. He's got a unit of Vassal Levies with bows, 20 Blunderbuss Infernal Warriors, 19 Citadel Guard with Flintlock Axes, who have a profit on the Infernal Bastion of Alchemy that sits there to make them really deep, but they still all get to shoot. And then he's also got a Vassal Conjurer of Witchcraft, just for that little bit of support magic. So, coming into this game, the roll for sides my opponent won, which I found pretty frustrating. I mean, obviously it's just a 50-50 chance, but I would have really loved to have the fields and the walls from the above section just to give me cover against all his shooting, because obviously I have to be pretty aggressive against what is basically a gunline army. It did allow me at least to seize the first turn because he got deployment side, so I could start putting pressure on early. And the trappers were quite helpful, as you might expect, in the middle, because there's so much terrain for them to just muck about in and make my opponent take DT tests. So it wasn't a dead loss, the fact that I rolled the bottom side, but I felt like it was pretty important to the game that I would have had a better shout at it if I'd managed to get the top, which is a little bit unfortunate. As you can see in my deployment, basically, on the left-hand side, I've just got the Bruiser Dart and the Merc Vets who hope to basically sit on that hill and scare the Chariot and the Shooty Titan a little bit, and keep them from, I guess, coming in to support where I'm going to push my other blocks up the middle. I don't actually like the matchup of my Bruisers against his Kadim Chariot, but I realised that a couple of turns into the game when I had a chance to declare that charge. I needed like an 8 or something re-rolling because I was on the hill. And then I just sort of did the maths in my head because I'd lost a couple of wounds to shooting, I think. And I went, you know what, I'm pretty sure I lose that one anyway. So I probably could have used those bruises better somewhere else just because they really weren't going to be very helpful there no matter what I did. I've got my main units pretty central because obviously when I lost the roll for sides, I dropped everything for first so I could put the pressure on. So to stop him, I mean, he wasn't going to deploy all on the right-hand flank because there's not enough space with that building in the way and it'd gum up his shooting. And if he used the full left-hand flank, he wouldn't be getting the benefits of cover and stuff. So I was expecting him probably to be roughly where he is. I didn't know exactly where the units would go. But even if he did go on that left-hand side, it would at least, because I've got those units central, they would be able to stay relevant, even if it took him a little bit longer to get to him. Over on the right-hand side, basically the plan with the Oryx was that I wanted to be able to guard against anything that was going to come down over on that right-hand flank, which I thought decent candidates for that might be the Chariot, might be the Kadim Titan that was dropped there in the end, as you can see, or even the block of Taruk Anointed. So I sort of thought with him and the dogs over there, I can sort of chaff a little bit if I need to. And he's my fast thing, so he can actually zone them a little bit better than anything else in my list can. So that's sort of the story behind my deployment. My opponent, just sort of deployed as you might expect, I guess, because he's got most of his things fairly central, where he's got pretty easy lanes of fire at me and everything. The Kadim Titan over there is, I think, doing sort of a similar job to my Oryx. He doesn't want my Oryx to come around, so they'll scare each other respectively. And then the Taruk Anointed are there, I think, basically because they're happy to fight the Merc Vets. So if my Merc Vets push up aggressively, those Taruk Anointed are probably just going to be able to get a charge on them if I don't play it very well. This is after my turn 1, I'm pretty sure. Maybe before my shooting and magic. I'm not 100% certain. But yeah, basically, as you can see, I pushed up fairly aggressively. The Oryx on the right, I think I kept him out of max range of the Kadim Titan over there because I was looking at how everything was deployed, and realistically at this point I wanted him to come on the left-hand side of that building and charge the Taruk Anointed if he got the chance. And then send the Sabertooths up and chaff the Kadim Titan. And once I was sort of past that building, there was little that the Kadim Titan would do to become relevant until very late game. Because if I chaff him for a turn after this, there's going to be a couple of turns left that he is stuck not being able to see or charge anything. Plus, if he pushed up aggressively here, I might better just charge with the Rock Oryx and pull back otherwise, take some casualties to shooting, but sort of deal with it. What I didn't mention earlier on is the objective in the center is basically like a custom one for this tournament. It's pretty similar to Hold the Center, but every turn that you have more scoring units within 6 of it, you get to drag it, I think, 3 inches towards you. So, like, you're sort of scoring it the exact same way because you're getting up within 6 inches of it every turn and moving it, but the actual winner of the objective is just whoever has more scoring units within 6 at the end of the game. What I was hoping was that potentially if my opponent was sticking back and just wanting to shoot, that I might be able to just start dragging that objective towards me, and because I thought this wasn't a great matchup, if I can sort of secure winning that objective, that would at least be a consolation prize if I lose the game on points pretty badly. So here, this is after my opponent's, at least probably his movement phase. I don't think he's shot yet because I haven't lost anything. My shooting and magic and the traps from the trappers have done, by the looks of it, 5 wounds to the Taruk Anointed. He's brought the Kadim Titan around the building and otherwise just sort of shuffled with most of his stuff. He pushed the blunderbusters up pretty far. I think that got them within range of the Merc Vets. In fact, I'm pretty certain it got them in range of the Merc Vets, because in this next turn they're going to be taking some casualties to shooting, and that's the only thing that shot at them, I'm almost certain. I don't think like the other movements are really all that important, because it's just sort of shuffling and keeping some of my units at distance over on the left, and then making sure that his bastion's within 18 so his whole flintlock axe unit can shoot. So there's nothing particularly crazy going on over there. This is after combat on my turn 2. So I charged the Merc Vets into the Citadel Guard. Oh, not the Citadel Guard, sorry, the Blunderbusters, the Infernal Warriors. I got off the Hereditary. I don't know exactly how I prioritized my magic, but I got off the Hereditary, but he was always going to have... actually, he wouldn't have had rerolls to wound. I've got flaming tokens, but he doesn't have any flaming on the unit, I don't think. So, regardless, I was pretty confident of that combat, because I had close to a full unit, I want to say, of Merc Vets going into there. He's AP 0, and I've just got a boatload of attacks that are actually going before him anyway. I've chaffed up his Taruk Anointed with my Saber Tusk. So I was pretty confident going in. But as you can see from the result there, I have lost 3... Yeah, started with 7. So I've lost 3 models. One of them in combat, which surprised me given that he doesn't have that many attacks. He's fairly low strength. He's got -1 to wound, and I had a 3-up armor save, but it didn't work out. I'm pretty sure from the stand and shoot as well, and the previous round of shooting, I took more wounds than I thought I would. So basically the position that they're in, I was not expecting. I was like, I think I'm going to blow through this unit, which quite possibly was erroneous thinking, because I forgot that the Infernal Brand thing gives them an extra rank in the first round of combat. So unless I'd managed to keep my second unit, because when this is from my reform after the combat, unless I'd managed to keep that second rank, which means I would have had to lose 6 less wounds, he would have, and well, unless I also killed 20-man unit down to 4, which is less likely because he's got power and he's got a good armor save and everything. I think I probably was going to stay there no matter what. But regardless, I only did 4 wounds there. I think I might have even had to take a break test. And I was pretty frustrated by that, which meant that I made a mistake, because you can see that I've dragged that Merc Vet down to the right-hand side so that he's just sort of hanging off, because I was like, well, it gets me extra attacks, gets me extra stomp, whatever. What I didn't think about at the time was the fact that that meant that when the Taruk charged the Saber-Toothed Tiger, he actually gets an overrun path into my unit, which was a really dumb mistake. I might have even tried as well at the start of this turn. I think that my Rockorix had a 15-inch charge into those Anointed and failed. And I think quite possibly as well, I went for a 6/6 into the flank of the Blundies in the middle with the Merc Vet unit that charged off the hill there. So, I mean, both pretty failable charges, but that's sort of why the Rockorix isn't in a better position than he is now. And as you can see, I sort of got myself out of position with those Merc Vets by declaring that long charge, which was probably a mistake again. But I was sitting there thinking, it's okay if they fail the charge, which they probably will, I'll just flee, and then assuming that he charges me, and then that'll bring his chariot closer, and my bruisers will be able to just countercharge him. But as I discovered in the game, I was like, that's not a good plan, because my bruisers will just lose if I get into that combat. So probably wasn't the best plan overall. I think I should have just kept him there, trying to zone, maybe even just pushed up, because if I do some wounds to the chariot, at least the other unit can deal with them. But realistically, the best thing is probably just having a bit of a standoff over there with two units that aren't likely to be all that relevant anyway. You can see my Kinetic did come on up the top, and hoping to kill that Titan Mortar, because it's quite dangerous to all my units. This, I think... Yeah, I didn't take a few screenshots. I think this is my last picture, and I'll explain why. So basically, capping off from the last thing, his Kadim Titan, the shooty one, turned around and just shot the shit out of my Kinetic and blew it out of the sky. The Taruk Anointed did come through, and they charged the flank of my Merc-Vets. The Merc-Vets did better in the second round against the Infernal Warriors, though, so they... I think I lost the combat, but I held. I may have even... I think, in fact... How many warriors does he have? He's got 5. I'm not sure why. Yeah, not sure. So, well, I mean, he got the overrun on his turn, and then I held. And then this is from my turn. So I sent the bruisers in. As you can see, they're sort of just... Oop, where are we going? That's not really working. Bugger off. I don't need to know how to do that. So the bruisers went in my turn. And my Rock Oryx tried, but again failed. And I think it was either like a 6 or an 8. So he really disappointed me, because I was like, if I get him in, I'm still fine. I can make up for my mistakes. I was actually thinking earlier on, I'm in a pretty okay position. Because even when I didn't blow through those warriors, I was like, his Anointed are there, ready to be countercharged by my Oryx. And I'm happy with that combat, because I think I win. I think I beat that BSB. The maths on it, I'm pretty sure, is actually closer than I was thinking at the time. But it still edges out to me winning, unless sort of I get a little bit unlucky, or he gets a little bit lucky, and then I lose on combat resonant break. But he didn't make it in, so it didn't work out in the end. And then I got the counter charge off, didn't break anything, so I didn't do enough wounds or whatever's happening here. And this is after my opponent's moves. So he's charged the Bastion unit in, and at this point we were having like a lot of trouble with UB, basically. He kept dropping out. As you can see on the side there, my opponent, Marsima, has left. It was... this is 3 turns in, and it had taken us 3.5 hours, I think. We weren't playing super quickly, but like the main problem with that was the fact that we kept dropping out, and stuff wasn't working properly with UB, basically. So what I basically just said to him at this point, I was like, look, once that Bastion unit's gone in, I don't have a way to do anything. So I've got, at this point off him, no points. I might have half points for the Citadel Warriors, or the Infernal Warriors, but like literally there's nothing else that I've got. And because this is like I'm going to break, and he's going to choose my direction, because he's not going to kill either of these units. The best case scenario is that I maybe pick up those points for those Taruk Anointed, but everything else is just going to die to shooting or pop off the board to panics. He's still got the Kadim Titan coming around. Realistically, like, I think we'd be fighting for another 3 hours, and I'd be hoping to get 1 point, because he's already dragging the objective back to him every turn as well. Everything that I've got left except the Rock Oryx basically has no way of getting any points off him, I don't think. So I pretty much just said to him, like, look, because it's taken so long, like, it's pretty frustrating for both of us how this is happening. We can just call it there, because there wasn't much else was going to happen in the game. It was quite disappointing because I actually really liked my chances on about turn. When did I like it? So here I was still feeling confident. I was like, you know what, this is actually looking okay because I'll be able to get the Merc Vets charging. If the Oryx gets in, that's brilliant because I've got that locked up. The Titan's looking the other way. He's not doing anything. And he's not going to be able to get into relevance before I kill the things that are in front of him anyway. And then that's good for me because hopefully I'll be able to charge him. Worst case scenario is probably getting corner clipped in a combo charge if I kill the opponent in the wrong turn. Because after I'd charged in and sort of bounced off these Infernal Warriors, if I hadn't made the mistake of letting the Anointed get the counter charge, I probably break him in that second round. Like, I think I get better luck. He might get some combat buffs, but Merc Vets are still probably going to beat Strength 3 Infernal Warriors in the second round, which is really good because then I actually get to, even though I've lost a big chunk of the unit, which isn't ideal, obviously, but once, hopefully I beat them, hopefully I break them, and I think that I should, I get to decide, like, to pivot and charge wherever I want. So that was a big mistake, dropping that Merc Vet in over on the side here. But even if I'd managed to get that Rockerix in on, like, either... I think they were both 8s, but my disappointment makes me think that maybe one of them was... Like, maybe the second one was a 6, because I was really disappointed by that one. But I think they were both 8s. So it's just one of those things where it's like... It's not unreasonable at all that you fail both of those charges. But if I'd gotten one of them in, I'm like, this is a tough matchup. You know, I've gotten that. It's not like a 6/6 where you just get lucky and pull something out. It's like, this was very reasonable to have happened, and I was excited. I was thinking things were going to go well, and they just didn't. And on that, like, as soon as he failed the second one, I was like, I can't save my Merc Vets. The Bruisers, I think, made a fairly long charge to get in. I think they needed like a 9 or something, and they're only 2d6. So, but they only got 1 or 2 guys in contact, and then I think didn't hit for shit anyway. So that was a tough game, and ended up 0 points for me, basically. I have the next one coming up, which was against High Elves, which I hate High Elves, but I should be able to do that fairly soon. So hopefully I'll get that one done up, and you'll have another video to look at pretty soon. But thanks for listening, guys. If you've got any questions or anything about the game, feel free to drop a comment. I only get a couple of comments on a video, so I'll definitely see it, and I'll definitely be able to respond. But anyway, catch you guys next time.